Hey everyone, welcome to the live stream on a Wednesday night. Talking mostly about NASCAR tonight, so kind of like in our wheelhouse, our bread and butter here. But good to have you all tuning in. Of course, NASCAR is just at the Roval. We have Vegas coming up, lots more playoff stuff, more horsepower to talk about, and so much more. Of course, I'm joined by the most of the ATYL Media gang: Ben, Sal, Buddy, Duke, and Dom. Kind of went out of order there, but that's fine. But good to see you all as you tune in. Let's just dive right into the Roval. And I know if you guys have anything to talk about in the chat, let us know. Use the hashtag AskATYL, and we'll make sure to bring up those talking points into here as well. Because I'm sure if you guys listen to the Dale Jr. download and things like that, you have things you want to discuss here too. But quick overview of the Roval. Reactions, thoughts. I guess Ben, I'll start with you because you were able to be at the track this weekend. Took a little trip. So how did you like the Roval? Seeing it in person. Initial thoughts.
This is my first time at the Roval. I've done 2 600s now for Charlotte. So this is my first time at the road course. I thought for the weekend overall, I thought the truck race was solid. I didn't see an Xfinity. The Cup race I thought was really good. It was very old school classic of we're building, we're hitting. It's the narrative plot thing that you learned in elementary school of we're building the narrative. We've hit the top of the climax has happened. We've hit the peak of the story, the action's happening, and then we come down to the resolution. And I thought it was really great. I really enjoyed it in person. It was a lot of fun. I get it now. I wasn't an SVG hater, but I wasn't an SVG appreciator. And watching him do what he does in a race car is kind of incredible in a lot of ways. It was just kind of interesting to watch him reel them in from 10 plus seconds back 3 times in a row. So I thought that was really cool. Yeah, solid weekend overall.
Dom, I wanted to bring this to you, I guess. I mean, just jumping right into it. Joey Logano survives. Makes it to the round of 8. Obviously, that came with some controversy there a little bit with just how the race ended with Chastain and Hamlin, but I didn't know if you wanted to kind of talk to at least Logano making it to the next round and diving into kind of the interesting part of this.
Listen, I feel like I pride myself on being a realistic Joey Logano fan, not a just over the top. Yeah, he made it to the next round. It was without any doubt. Paul Wolfe advanced to the round of 8. Joey Logano did not advance to the round of 8. That was just a great pit strategy there at the end to give him a chance. And that's all he needed was a great out of the box thinking strategy call that could give him the opportunity to maybe get himself in position, because it was going to come down to the wire. Ross Chastain had a good car all day, and luck of the draw, Chastain fell off in that final run. And again, I think that's just luck of the draw for the 22 team, because Chastain was good. Chastain put himself in position to make the round of 8 that entire race. But it's just Paul Wolfe doing what he did with Brad Keselowski when they won the 2012 Sprint Cup. It's what he's done with Logano in his 2022 and 24 title runs, just putting on a strategic masterclass to put his driver in position to go get a championship. And again, credit to Joey. I mean, got to drive the car, and he just honestly, with that strategy, he just had to keep it on the racetrack, and that's what he did. So kudos to that whole 22 team. Credit does not go to just Joey alone. If anyone deserves the most credit, I'm giving it to the crew chief.
100%. I mean, the strategy calls from Paul were incredible to keep him in the fight. And Joey, after the race, said it was a championship type of day. Now, depending on who you ask, could be a load of crap statement. But Joey did what he needed to do, and Paul did what he needed to do to keep his driver in the fight. And I will say, on the flip side of that too, though Chastain had a car that was good enough to make it in, 2 big errors on pit road for him, basically missing the exit of pit road, or just almost driving into the wall on pit exit, trying to leave, and then had that speeding penalty late in the race where all those points that he accumulated, all that he had done, was kind of washed away, and it led to that desperation at the end. Buddy, your driver was smooth sailing. Nothing mattered really at the end there for you in the case that your driver won. But from the stands, the perspective of when you saw Chastain just dive bomb Hamlin there, and just the thoughts that were in your mind when you saw that.
I didn't see it. I was screaming. I'll be honest with you. I was sitting there. I was waving my big old SVG flag. I was looking for a beer. And then I was like, "What the Ross doing?" Like, I didn't see. As far as obviously I went back and watched the replay. I mean, thank goodness we're getting rid of this format because look, it produced a moment, but I wouldn't classify it as a sure, it maybe been exciting, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of someone just bombing it in there to wreck another driver to make it to the next round. You guys know my feelings towards Joey Logano, but if that would have been the way he got knocked out of the playoffs, 100% would have taken it. But it wouldn't have been it wouldn't have been cool. I don't know. I did see Allmendinger go across the line backwards too.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it was I mean, you got to try to beat SVG somehow, whether it's going backwards around the track or whatever. I don't know, man. I don't know. But I had fun. I had a fun day.
I mean, I'll say being at the track, it was a good time. And then at the end, too, because I mean, I was like, SVG race is over, won by a landslide. And then you see these cars going backwards. And there was a question, and I do want to bring this up in just a few minutes of like, was this, race manipulation? And I think that more so goes to the radio that was with Alex Bowman and with Cole Custer. Sal, I think you talked about this a little bit on Monday.
I'm sure I did. I talked about a lot of things on Monday, but I mean, call a spade. I mean, it's just code words that they're using from spotters to crew chiefs to drivers. I don't think it's a big secret. Even this week, drivers talking about how you're not allowed to say anything about the points or anything about the playoffs on the radio. Now, I don't know how the 22 team was working that because I heard clips of them talking about, Joey was saying was getting information and knew exactly what he needed to do.
Well, yeah, he's the guy.
Yeah, it's interesting, but the Bowman and the Custer stuff seemed to be a little more kind of under the rug, or tried to be a little more under the rug. So, is it race manipulation? I'm not in charge, but it sure seemed like it. See how they were trying, didn't do much.
I mean, NASCAR didn't issue a penalty, and the reason being they did. I feel like this is like an answer, not answer, but I didn't feel like it was as egregious, I guess, as Martinsville, according to Holler Talk. Mike Ford said that at a certain point this week, they will talk to the teams to remind them, like, hey, keep the integrity of the sport in mind. Like, especially like going into like Talladega, Martinsville, all those different things, especially Talladega, where wrecking somebody for a win could be, really, really dangerous, high speeds. The one thing I thought was interesting was from Amanda Ellis in that podcast. And she said that the message isn't to tell the teams they can't talk about points. It's more of if you're talking about points, it should be about your car and your vehicle and no other vehicles that are at play. And I think that's really odd, Duke. I don't know if you think the same way about that, but my thing is like, you have to kind of know the other point situation so you know what you need to do.
You can't not talk about the other point. Like if you talk about your points, you're talking about everybody else's points. Like that's just the way that goes. I'm with Sal. You can call it whatever you want. I tend to call spades. It's like the itchy elbow, right? Hey, do you got your Apple Watch on? Well, why the heck would you need an Apple Watch? That was a fun one, right? Why are we saving a set of tires for a late rate caution on the last lap? What are we doing? I'm with Sal though. That it's shady, but what I mean. It is the puzzle that we have been given to solve. That all the teams and everything with the playoffs. So they're working within the bounds that they have. But it is kind of fishy. I do agree.
It's just a product. It's also like a product of this format, of the way this works, where we don't want to believe there's team orders and there's team affiliations or OE orders or OE affiliations. But if a Ford can help a Ford and a Chevy can help a Chevy and a Toyota can help a Toyota, the way that this playoff format is situated, you have more opportunities to help those people. And that's what they're going to do. So it's just interesting to me how, like, Buddy's the first person too that I've heard say that he didn't like the Roval race because of the way that it created that moment in the format, because a lot of media people are in the other side of the camp. So it's refreshing to me to hear you say that, because the only two clips I've seen them use from the Roval is the traumatic Jimmy Johnson, Martin Truex Jr. wreck from the first year. And they'll use this clip to sell the Roval for the next 10 years. And it's just interesting that it all kind of swirls and accumulates right around these conversation topics at the Roval.
Yeah, I mean, everything I liked about the race, all bias aside, it was still a good race. It was, three really good race car drivers battling it out, and we got to see an absolute masterclass from one of the greatest race car drivers in the world. But as far as like the quote unquote race manipulation, I mean, there's whether or not, it actually affected anything or not, there's a reason we have charges for attempted murder and murder. Like, I mean, to be completely frank with you, like it's still a crime. And so, I mean, in my opinion, if you really want it to stop, I mean, maybe we're going off on the thing of, it's the last time we're going to have these playoffs or whatever, but if we're serious about it, suspend the drivers, suspend the crew chief, and pull Jeff Gordon's hard card. Like, suspend every damn one of them. Like, I'm serious. If you want this to stop, this is how you make it stop. You have to make it hurt. Don't suspend Freddie Kraft for 1 week at the end of last year when they're 17th in points.
He's still mad about
matter. That. Yeah, exactly. Like,
I mean, I think, and here's what I think too. I think NASCAR is also very understanding to a degree in recognizing that they've kind of created this situation with the playoff format. So they're like, listen, if it's not egregious, fine. Like, it can't be just like, block this guy and don't let him pass because we need Chastain to get in and you're Alex Bowman and we can't, like, you know what I mean? Like, it can't be like egregious and out there. And I think that's what NASCAR doesn't want, but it is still the same thing. Code words are not. So I think, and this will kind of get into what we're going to talk about with the Dale Jr. download today, because Steve O'Donnell actually made some really interesting points and actually gave his opinion on his kind of shortcomings with the current playoff format that I thought was interesting to hear somebody from NASCAR that high up talk about. Yeah, we kind of created a system that's not, I'm going to say healthy is the word I'm going to use, but it's creating a lot of discourse that is taking away from other very important things. But I want to get to some of your comments first. Stevie Ray had made a comment that I know a lot of you guys were talking about. And we'll talk about this too. Stevie said, I'm in favor of a 36 race points championship. Where do you guys stand? I grew up with the Winston Cup era. I hate the playoffs. I think all we get right now is a TV champion. And to an extent, yeah, I think we've all shared our opinions multiple times on this, and that's why we kind of dive or fold this into a larger discussion. But I don't think maybe a full season championship is the right answer, is my opinion, after I've kind of thought about it. But I also don't really love the current form of the playoffs, and I'm glad that I'm not paid the big bucks to figure this out. That's all I gotta say.
I like the playoffs. I'm 45 years old. I grew up with Winston Cup. I grew up with a 36 race schedule. I grew up in the last 5 races didn't mean a damn thing. I could care less to watch them. I care to watch them now. I got to ask, with the old Winston Cup format, how exciting would this race have been at the Roval? Would you have had all that pushing at the end? Hell no. Mm-hmm. You probably would not have. Back in the day, you get to Homestead, it's a lock, with 3 races to go. It's a lock. Everybody knows. I think that it's built in some great stuff, although it has provided some bad stuff. But I think there's a way to do both. I said it on TikTok the other day. I think you could have a 36 race points championship and your last 10 races, move your in-season tournament to the last 10 races, have one stage during every single race early, like 50 to 75 laps in, have a phantom stage about halfway in between those next two, the end of the race and that first stage, award points, seed your tournament at the end of the season based on the points gained from your stage points, and seed the tournaments there. That way, in case you have a points runaway, you still have your tournament for like $1 million to fall back on. You run barrel. I would love it. I think it's fun. It's easy. You're racing for points. Like you're awarding your championship, but then at the end of the season, you're throwing in a tournament to satisfy those people that like the playoff atmosphere.
A little piece.
Yes.
And if you
I need to see that
you
on
have something
paper
to
though,
talk
because
about.
I'm confused.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
my
like
brain,
the
you know.
idea of giving something to the fans that also still want the points from it. But I think the issue you run into when you add too much, especially in the playoffs, is you run into the issue where they currently have now, where the current system we have is taking away from the championship conversation. Or the Daytona 500, this was the point, we'll dive into this now. Steve O'Donnell kind of made the point where it's like, you can't just talk about how cool the Daytona 500 is now, because the winner of the Daytona 500, regardless of how good of a driver or how maybe mediocre of a driver they are, whatever that is, like they get locked into the playoffs. And that becomes the conversation, not they won the great American race. It is they're now locked into the playoffs. So it's trying to find balance there, as I think what they're looking for. And I think too, and this was a conversation that kind of came up with my day job, is, you know, when you have a full season format, it's so much easier to understand. You understand where the drivers are. You understand every point situation. Everything's so clearly laid out for you. The way it is now with NASCAR, I could try to explain the points format to my mom. She would not understand it no matter how hard I tried. And she'd eventually understand it. She does now. But it's like, it's so hard to get a new fan invested because it's so complex. So it's, how do you balance it out? How do you make it fair, et cetera? So let's dive into the Dale Jr. download conversation with that said. We'll start with the format, then we'll go into the more exciting stuff that we haven't talked about recently. But the championship format changes. Steve O'Donnell said that they won't be announced until after the season, just to kind of respect the current championship format, respect who is the champion at the end of the year. I understand that.
The Bianchi bomb is already loaded in the cargo bay 1.
Oh, it's ready to go. He's ready.
So it's already like the cat's halfway out the bag.
The plane's been circling for
happy.
weeks. So
It has been.
Yeah.
He's ready.
I think we all have a pretty good idea what it's gonna be.
I think we do. And my thing is, I want to be surprised if it's like the week of the championship.
What do we think?
Yeah, I don't think it says clear cut as we all think it is.
What is it? The 3-4-3?
The 3-3-4 was what
Seems
Jordan
to be
had
what's-
presented as
Wendy's
a
4 for 4?
hypothetical.
You should go
Hey,
listen to
real
the
quick.
conversation with Steve O'Donnell.
Michael's comment that said, look at IndyCar, no playoffs, and still people watched, and the title was already locked up. But they only run like 16 races a year.
Fatigue is a
too.
huge part of this.
Like that's the big thing is fatigue. Like it's 36 races.
If my driver's knocked out of the playoffs,
season.
if my driver's knocked out of the playoffs, I could not care less. I mean, straight, like it's hard. Like it's going to be hard for me to give a damn about what goes on past the, like literally, I didn't care about whatever happened last week. SVG was out. I don't really care for anybody that's in the playoffs too much. I cared about the Roval because obviously, you know, the inevitable happened. But now, I mean, it's like I'm gonna go watch, you know, Talladega, Vegas, and you know, oh, that person won. Okay, all right, well, I don't care. Then we're gonna go to Phoenix, and
the inevitable is gonna happen.
Somebody that probably doesn't deserve to win the title wins the title, and there's a hybrid. You're right though, Duke. There's a hybrid that I think we could all work with.
Mm-hmm.
I think so too.
It's no matter what's done, not everyone's going to be happy. We know this. And I think it never, and even if NASCAR does appease a majority of the fan base, there's still going to be a majority that's upset and they're going to be loud and then everyone's going to be upset again. So, but I do think with the playoff format and the reason why it is such a big talking point is because there are issues with it that doesn't maybe produce the most quote unquote legitimate championship to a lot of people, but these drivers who win the championship, they're winning it in the sandbox that they were placed in. So I don't fault the drivers at all. If they're good at the championship fight, shoot, they're good at it. Congrats. But does it mean that they were good all season long? No.
They didn't have to be.
And they didn't have to be. And that's what fans want. They want something where you can have somebody who like crushed it for the first time. I mean, at least most fans want, I think, but maybe not then.
I just like, this isn't the best. This isn't necessarily a straw man argument in some ways, but like this whole everyone complains about the Matt Craftons of the world and stuff like that, and about how like they were not real in the regular season and won a title. And I just keep kind of going back to Tony Stewart and just, we shouldn't be here. We shouldn't be in the chase. Like we're trash. and then you go on a heater and win 5 out of 10 and just destroy the competition and literally step on their throats. And I'm like, that's sometimes like, and obviously that's the chase, that's the reset. And I personally, like, I think that's what we should go back to, is a chase format. That in my opinion is the medium happy ground for people that want playoffs versus people that want full season points. But like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't think you can sit here and call some people you can call certain drivers illegitimate champions. I will agree with that. But I think that number is smaller than what people make it out to be at the end of the day.
I agree. And you also have in the conversation here, if Connor or Corey, Connor Zillage, Corey Heim, if either of them lose the championship, game over.
Right.
Like,
if Connor Zillage loses the championship, I'll be mad. And y'all know my
and my thing is like, you listen to Corey Heim talk about the championship and things, and like, he hasn't said like specifically like doesn't matter, whatever. I mean, if he doesn't win it, he's going to be bummed, and he said that before. But it's so hard to care about a championship when if you don't win it after you've had a 10 race win season or whatever, it ultimately doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? Like, it can be frustrating when you have a driver dominate a season.
I clicked the wrong thing. Sorry, guys.
You're good. And then they don't win the championship. I mean, I go back to like 2019, 2020. I mentioned this literally every single show, but like, that's what sticks out in my brain with Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin, and just, I don't know. But I think this year though, because you have 2 series with Xfinity and Truck where there was dominant performances by one driver, you have more chances to piss off the fan base if neither of those drivers win it, which I think is very telling and more so justifies, thank God, NASCAR adjusting the system here.
Could you imagine if we had the 3-3-4 right now? I mean, because let's be honest, other than Joey Logano, can we pick a favorite out of
and that's the
round of 8?
No.
It's all pretty dead heat.
And,
it's pretty dead heat.
Yeah, exactly. We get down to the final 4 and you have no clue. But this one race, we know if a certain 2 or 22 or 12 or 22 make it, it's game over. Like, so
it's amazing to me how emotionally invested everybody is in tradition. Because if
nostalgia is a hell of a drug, man.
It is the only drug. Nobody wants to go forward.
Every other sport, if somebody goes undefeated in their sport and then gets waxed in the playoff, that's cool by the 16, by a wild card team. That would be okay. Everybody will be okay with that.
It's only cool for the team that wins.
No, I'm saying but we're so it's just such a tradition that's not the way racing is done ever, and it wasn't the way it started, and it's hard. It's just amazing. It's amazing to me how traditionally, emotionally, and traditionally invested that everybody is in it.
Well, Duke, I wonder if it's tradition with a mix of I spent from February to November every single weekend watching this for it ultimately to not matter. I think 80% of it's probably tradition. I 1,000%, 100% agree with that. It's just the way racing's done. But I also think to an extent, like for me too, like I remember back in I think 2018, I was like that, not 2018. Yeah, no, 2018. Yeah. Where I was like, okay, this is interesting, where maybe it wasn't, whatever year it is. I just didn't feel like the season mattered. Like once we got to the playoffs and then we had a champion, I was like, man, like, so I don't know if it's just the burnout and the emotional investment you put in for a year, all for it to just not matter. I don't know.
It's fascinating.
Well, here's why. Didn't you work in the Busch series?
Yes.
Yeah, you watch Cup drivers come in and win the championship 7 races early. That's I'll give you a break. That's like you live that.
It's like when we got to like 8-10 races to go, it's like you're just going through the motions. You're barely throwing templates on the cars. This is back when we had templates, right? We're just barely throwing them on. Don't really care. Bang the gauge on the template. Sure, send it down the line. It's fine. Nobody's racing for anything.
Right. That makes me think of 2013 Nationwide Series where there was the battle between Austin Dillon, Regan Smith, and Elliott Sadler for the
Sam Hornish Jr.
Oh, yeah.
And Sam Hornish. They were fighting for the actual championship, but the only on-track competition was the 54 versus the 22 because they were the only 2 winning races, and it was the owners' championship overtook the actual points championship because none of those guys could win.
Yep.
It's complicated. It really is.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I've never heard fans of any sport get I mean, to Duke's point, to get so uppity about a playoff system, but not just to talk about a playoff system, but to have impact on a playoff system. So the power of complaining has some effect based on what we've seen over the last couple of. Imagine NFL fans piped up and said, we want a full season. We want a full season format. We don't want any playoffs. Imagine though, like the top sport, and it's that's crazy, right? But in NASCAR and in motorsports, we complain enough and we get what we want to a certain degree.
Hey, if you grind axes long enough, you'll
squeaky wheel gets the grease. I'm here for it.
I will say, like, as much as we give hell to Dom's water cooler friends, like, they listen to us.
They do.
And I don't think many other sports do that as much as NASCAR does. I think,
which is a great part.
That's how we wound up here, though. That's how we wound up here, is because NASCAR fans complained that the full season points suck, and now we had to do something different.
Yeah, and we got
and now we want it back. What are we doing?
Circles around. This is a hell of a drug.
Fans never know what they want.
I think
we do, and then we change our
mind. This is a debate for another day, but I don't know exactly that the fans asked for, because they made who was it? Pemberton. Robin Pemberton was on Junior's podcast a couple weeks ago, and they said that was a Nextel and Brian France decision to put the chase in. Like that was
hard money coming in at the end. No, there was not that much money coming in at the end of the season. The races were starting to get very boring, and the TV money was drying up at the end. There was a lot of things that went into that. Yes.
Yeah. So it was more of a business decision than
at the end of the day, it can all be business for sure. I mean, there's so many reasons as to why the format is changing. And I did want to mention one comment that Steve O'Donnell did make, because I mean, you mentioned how the sanctioning body is listening to the fans. They're also listening to the competitors and their concerns. There are vocal competitors that are publicizing their disdain for the playoff format. You think of Denny Hamlin on his podcast. Steve O'Donnell also mentioned that Christopher Bell is one of the drivers that will come to him behind closed doors and have a conversation, not air out the conversation online. But Steve O'Donnell said Christopher Bell was like, quote, if I roll off 10 wins in a year and I go to one race and a couple other guys get into me or whatever, I'm not the champion. 4 years in a row, that happens. Steve O'Donnell then said, quote, I don't want the next Christopher Bell, who is 10 years old right now, thinking about NASCAR, wanting to go to NASCAR, wanting to be a champion and say, this is a little bit more of a chance on a one race. So it's future-proofing it for future competitors, etc. And I think
Bars.
First off, Steve O'Donnell, and I will say, if you have not listened to this episode of the Dale Jr. Download, you have to. He talks a great deal about where the sport is headed. He speaks so well to all of these issues, I feel. Dale Jr. said that he only got to 40% of what he wanted to ask him, so I do hope that he's able to come back on the show. But Brian Long said the issue with Hyman Zilich is one person can drive it deep into the corner and wreck them and win. And that's exactly kind of what Steve O'Donnell's referencing here, is he doesn't want that to be how a champion is determined, especially if they've had, a really good year. Matthew said, and thank you for the super chats, you guys. Well, this is motorsports, not football. This whole format feels artificially created to justify pull people's attention when full season points or the chase feels more natural and organic. Again, there you go.
I there's a point that I saw another content creator make too about why the playoff format is the way it is. And I promise we won't go down a rabbit hole too far, but about the content calendar of storylines and the way that this playoff format, to me personally, my personal opinion is this playoff format creates Mickey Mouse champions when you have Talladega as a cup race. That's just the hard fact of not having it, all the points we've made. But I do think it's very convenient that when this was created, there is a almost cookie cutter schedule you could put together of what the storylines will be as the postseason goes on. And it's is everybody just pissing in the wind for Penske to go win at Phoenix? Is that really all we're doing?
we trying to get clicks, or are we trying to go for longevity?
That's what it's two schools of thought. You can get the storyline right now, week over week, every week, or you can look back and say, you know what, the 2025 season was fantastic as a full product. And as they continue to develop whatever it is that they're going to tell us moving forward after the season, the two things that I think of the most, and I haven't listened to the full Dale Jr. episode, but Twitter is, available. The star power, I feel like you get more star power back with more of a stretched out playoff. And then they need the driver buy-in, like the Christopher Bells of the world who are going to Steve O'Donnell behind closed doors. People, like the drivers, ultimately need to be the ones who are happy with it. Like if they can all get together and decide the playoff format, what the fans say is somewhat irrelevant at that point, right? If the drivers get together and say, you know what, 10 race chase, that's what we think is the best for us to compete under. That's what it should be, because they're the ones out there doing it, and we're just here to kind of be spectators to it. But yeah, it's just the whole conversation is it's interesting that it's gone on for this long, and that we're finally just getting the answers to the questions now to some degree.
And I guess to close out the comment about the storylines deal, if you need these storylines to do your job, because I know exactly who you're talking about when you say this, maybe you're not as good at your job as you think you are.
Bianchi bombs, more like buddy bombs out here, ladies and gentlemen. How about it?
I mean,
and the thing is, too, what can be frustrating is these are emotional pinpoints for fans that they really care about. So you see outlets digging into these because it generates clicks, it generates revenue. We all know this, and we talk about it a lot on here because it matters. We're very passionate about this. So it's, of course, we're going to know more after the end of this season as to what the playoff format does look like. Some other notes from this Dale Jr. Download podcast with Steve O'Donnell is that they are hoping to move away from, too many spec parts going forward, giving teams more freedom to build specific parts in the future. And that comes from like a larger trust between the teams and the competition group with NASCAR. So moving a bit more towards that with conversations with the teams, which I thought was good. The other thing here, a step in the right direction, is there was confirmation that in 2026, we will have more horsepower at tracks that are less than 1.5 miles, and at road courses, a bump from 650 to 750. Can we agree this is a win? Like a small win?
Yeah.
Baby steps. We're getting in the right
step,
direction.
Exactly. Well, and something else Steve said during this interview was they in the next couple of years with new OEMs potentially coming in.
Yes.
I say that with a lot of hesitance. But we know of one. They're looking to open up the build of the engine a little bit more, which sounds like to me that it'll be 750, and it'll also be 750 without a tapered spacer, hopefully. Yeah. And that is really what creates this. Because, the cars back in the day, aero wasn't as big of a thing, but the engines also weren't. Yeah, they're 750 horsepower, but they didn't have a tapered spacer that chokes them down. Whereas, so hopefully we're getting rid of the tapered spacer, and 750 really might be all we need at that point. So.
Mm-hmm. And Duke, fan of this change? Yes.
No? Yes. Yeah. No. Big. And that's what Buddy touched on, that with taking that spacer off. It's going to give them just a way more throttle response within like off throttle time and on throttle time. Like now you can just mat it, and it just kind of is like, it's like punching a bag of mashed potatoes, right? It's got no torque. It just kind of goes. At least with the tapered spacer, it's going to take that little bit of resistance off, and they're going to have to not.
Oh.
Wow.
We'll never know what he said.
We'll never know.
Wow.
This is worse than the ending of The Sopranos.
The 36. The 36 race.
Hold on.
We got it.
He's back.
What a cliffhanger.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where I left off, but so you're off
talking about punching a bag of potatoes.
Yeah, Matt. Yeah, punching a bag of potatoes, right? There's got no throttle response now.
Yeah.
There's no. They're going to have to really be a little bit more ginger with the throttle, with the loud pedal coming out of the turns when they get back on it. I'm with Buddy. That's the horsepower increase is great, but taking the tapered spacer off really is going to liven up that throttle response. And help on the corner exit, I believe.
Yeah.
That's what'll separate the drivers from in
Yes.
terms of skill level too. Like it's not about having 1,000 horsepower because you're going to use all 1,000. It's about using what you want and having control over it.
Exactly
and
right.
having the racecraft and the discipline to like you said, it's like putting it on an egg, like hitting a bag of potatoes. Like that's what people want to see. The racecraft come, and with racecraft, you will get the superstars.
Yes.
You'll get that element back, and that is so what. Like the Kyle Bushes of the world can return, and they can sit atop the king of the castle, and they can talk their game to people. I don't know. We're right there. We're so close. Sal's been big on this 1,000 horsepower stuff.
Y'all, I got to tap on out. I got to put the kids to bed. See y'all next time whenever I'm on. Y'all have a good one.
Have a good night, man.
Yep, Matthew right here, just do 750 horsepower everywhere, let him run.
Yes.
And I will say, and there was another comment here too that I wanted to bring up. Danny said it's baby steps, but I don't think it will heavily improve the racing product. And
baby steps.
Steps.
You're not going to start. They're not going to give them 1,000 right out of the rip. They're going to start small, just like the playoff format. They're not going to go right to a 36 race playoff. They're not going to go right to 1,000 horsepower because if it's too big of a change and it's a problem, then you look even dumber than you did the first time. So I get like the gradual progression back to something, they're not back, but the gradual progression into something new that they can make, not making change for the sake of making change, but making change for the sake of sustainability of the product over time.
And Steve O'Donnell made comments about that because there was a question as to, is this enough? Is it not? He had mentioned that it's in the interest of the OEMs and NASCAR right now that it's a priority that remains high to up horsepower and things like that. They're having ongoing discussions. They said that 750 was the number that everyone was comfortable with, that they could get to without having to go and redesign any of the internal parts of the engine. Once you go above that, you start crossing into very short mileage engines because you're actually pushing them harder and harder. The other part of this too is that he said that this is more so like a 3-step process. He goes, any of those things, a 3-year runway. We didn't want to say 1,000 now and 3 years from now, just say kidding. Like they're wanting to slowly increase it. The other thing with this too is they don't want to throw all these solutions to the cars at once. You have to know what works and what doesn't. So they are using this kind of as a test, starting slow.
Yeah.
So, buddy.
Yes.
Anything to add there?
To wrap up, I guess in general, why we all are so passionate about, whether it be playoffs or whether it be horsepower or whether it be, any of the issues that we come on here every week and talk about is this I'm going down a rabbit hole here, but you look at the world, in a lot of places in the world, it's not a great place right now. There's lots of things going on. People are dealing with more than they've ever dealt with, and they need escape from things. And, for millions of people out there, the escape is NASCAR. And so when we have fraudulent playoffs and we have, not enough horsepower that creates horrible racing, then it breaks our hearts, man, because we love this stuff. So the fact that we're moving in the right direction is fantastic, and I'm excited to see that because I felt like we finally at least slowed the bleeding.
To Buddy's point too, real quick, motorsports, NASCAR in particular, there's very few opportunities fans get, like NASCAR fans get, to have the sport be as tangible as it is, where you can meet drivers, walk down pit lane, talk to people, interact with them via social media. It's not exactly as easy to do that in baseball or the NFL or even in F1 or other racing disciplines where it seems like a higher like echelon. And I think that gives NASCAR, to me, is still the blue collar American sport. It's something that people resonate with. It's something that people feel like is their own. When they become a fan of this, they get invested in it. And it's, I don't know, the tangible aspects of it is one that I think is why people get so ready to rock when it's time to make changes with this stuff.
Something to know with that too, talking about the vibe and feel of the sport. I did a video on this on my page last week about NASCAR's branding reintroduction. It's not a rebrand, it's reintroduction with 72 and Sunny and kind of their vibe of what they're hoping to bring the fans, the recognition back to NASCAR, what they're hoping to do with star power. I know there's a lot that revolves around that, but you pair trying to improve the racing, trying to improve so many different things with the car, the sport itself, the playoff system. You're adding in here's what we want people who maybe don't understand NASCAR to get about our branding with this whole new marketing campaign. And I'm sure we could dive into that another time too, but NASCAR, to wrap this all up before we move on, they are listening. They're listening to the drivers, the teams, the fans, their stakeholders, everyone involved, and they're actively working on making changes. They can't change everything at once, but they can start making small changes to better the sport as a whole, which I think is very important here. What else is important, you guys? NASCARs. NASCAR.shop is such a fantastic storefront, everyone. If you love your trading cards and everything like that, you have to go to NASCAR.shop and use the promo code ATYL to get 15% off your first card purchase. They do breaks bi-weekly that are so fun to be a part of. I am always in those breaks. I'm always hoping to get more Terry Labonte Terry Labonte cards. Always looking for diecast as well, but the Terry Labonte cards are the ones I always go in for. Dan from NASCAR.shop also sent me, I'm going to put myself in here on the screen. Maybe? Hi, everyone. Okay. I got my Carl Edward signed card right here, which is super cool. I've also got a Justin Bonsignor card right here as well. That sign that Dan sent my way. If you want cool cards like these, make sure to go to NASCAR.shop, scan the QR code link in the description of this video, and of course use the promo code ATYL to get 15% off your first card purchase. And if you have a chance to follow them on social media as well, please do. Dan is talking more about the cards themselves, how to get on the breaks. So for those of you who are new to the culture of trading cards and stuff like that, it's a great way to get introduced to it all. Another thank you as well. I mentioned diecast. I'd be remiss if I did not mention Benzik Designs that have our favorite diecast stands all around me. You see the stands from Benzik. They are phenomenal, sturdy. I have more that I literally just ordered because yes, I got many more diecasts than I probably should have, but that's okay. It's fine because I have my Benzik Design stands. So if you go to the link in the description, go to our website, use the promo code ATYL2025, you get 20% off your stand purchase. All goes to supporting Matt Benzik. He's always creating new projects and products that you all either submit to him. You guys say, hey, this would be really cool. Maybe you can make this. Like, he's always listening to you guys. Speaking of listening to fans and stuff like that, he's always listening to you to make the best products possible to display the diecast that you all love to collect. So again, link in the description, QR code, all those fun things. Make sure to check that out. Oh my gosh. Yeah, thanks. You know what? Past 2 weeks, I felt good about the segues. Thank you guys. I'm trying. We're trying. That's fantastic. Thanks, everyone. Anywho, I think the other pieces of news I wanted to get to, not saying this is a lighter piece of news, but it's like a lighter talking point than, the playoffs and stuff like that. But Harrison Burton is not returning to AM Racing in 2026. Big deal because this was the team's first playoff appearance. Both, split amicably. Like, following this year, they're like happy for Harrison, appreciate Harrison, whatever. So my thought process is, what do you all think is in store for Harrison next year? Dom, I don't know if you had any thoughts about what you think.
Based on reading his announcement, it sounds like he's already got something in the works. Yeah. He has already signed a deal somewhere else. I mean, Ram and Colleague have 13 truck entries for next year, so I figured they may as well get started filling those seats. So I feel like that's a good one. I 100% don't see him going to Cup. I think it's either the Truck Series or Xfinity. Off the top of my head, I really don't know where he could land in Xfinity off the top. Maybe I don't know if Junior Motorsports is going to go the Harrison Burton route. I don't see it. I don't know if Haas Factory Team wants to add him if someone goes up or comes down, whatever. Maybe Sam Hunt Racing if they really commit to the 24 car for a full-time run next year. With Dean Thompson in the 26, which I don't know if he's coming back next year. I think that might be a multi-year deal.
I think, I think he's back pretty sure. So.
Okay. But I really don't. There's not like a specific landing spot I see for him in Xfinity, but I mean, the easy one would be Kaulig Trucks because they have more seats than they do drivers right now, and we're all just sitting waiting to see who their lineup's going to be.
I mean, for me with Harrison, what he's been able to do with that program has been nothing short of impressive. He's elevated the program. I think the program elevated with him, in my opinion. I hated to see how his playoff run ended this past weekend at the Roval with all of the issues he had. Didn't leave the playoffs the way I think that they were hoping, like going down fighting there. But I hope wherever he ends up, it's good. It's a good seat where he can make progress. I agree with you, Dom. I don't see him going back in Cup unless something crazy happens with things next year. I really don't know, but
I'll say I really want to see him stay in Xfinity because that's where he's best.
Too. Yeah.
He's got that one Cup win last year, but all of his more, I don't want to say legitimate. He won Daytona outright. He got himself up there and won that race, but all of his dominant victories, if you will, have come in the Xfinity series, and he never won in the trucks driving for KBM. So I'd like to see him stay in Xfinity because I feel like that's where he is at his best, at his most confident. And, 10 out of 10, what you said, took an AM racing team that was really struggling last year. And this year they make the playoffs on points, which is very impressive.
It's incredibly impressive. And I think the thing you bring up is I would like him to stay in Xfinity as well. I think we can all agree that's where he's best, and he did a great job this year. But I think the other issue is Ford's really not going to have a huge presence as far as we know right now in Xfinity next season. So it's, where does he go? There are rumors circulating as to what Ford's plan is in Xfinity for next year, like what it looks like, what it could be.
Can you share those rumors? Because my conversations on Monday mornings have been
just
how
this.
Ford's and Toyota's development pipeline, how one has too much and one has not enough. And it's kind of a head scratcher to me. And it's like everybody's kind of, walking on eggshells because nobody really knows what's going to go on. But you hear things, and I'm curious, just like everybody else, I think.
Do you save money by not having development program for yourself and just buying people's contracts out?
Fair. Very fair.
I mean, to be honestly,
fair point.
I mean, what I can say about the Ford situation is I feel confident that there will be still a good Ford, not necessarily a good Ford presence, but there will still be enough Fords in the field besides what we're thinking is just like 2 or like 4 right now. However,
you all heard that was an Audi R8 V10.
I was gonna say, what was that?
High horsepower.
I knew that was anywhere.
They have the NASCAR way.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. You're good. I guess what I can say is that there will still be a presence by Ford next year. The question is where, I guess, is long story short.
I mean, AM racing. That's it.
And then potentially the Siegs, maybe not. That's still up in the air as well. Just with Haas, they have a really close alliance with Haas. So will they stay? Will they not? I assume and I believe from rumblings that they could likely be staying with 4. So then what does that look like? So I do think that there will be more than just those cars. However, there's nothing confirmed. Everything's rumor. But it's really interesting because you don't want to feel just full of Chevys, right? Or
half
you know
the field's
I mean?
going to be Junior Motorsports soon. And not everybody. I see comments. Well, why not drive for Junior? Why not this guy drive for Junior? There's
Harrison's not going to Junior. I don't know what truck he'd be in at try. I think Dom brought up a good point. I think Kaulig truck would be probably a good spot. Caden Honeycutt's replacing Corey Hine, for those who don't know. So
in terms of Xfinity becoming all Chevys, we are 29 races into the Xfinity Series season. Ford and Toyota have combined for 5 wins.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
I mean,
let that sink in.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
we gotta raise the competition level.
I mean, you think about it too.
10 of those Chevy wins are Zilich wins.
Exactly.
I mean, how many of them are Allgaier wins? There's a handful, right? I mean, I'm not keeping up.
3 Allgaiers, 3 Austin Hill, 1 Jesse Love, 10 Connor Zilich.
It's crazy.
1 or 2 Kyle Larson, So yeah,
nobody's got the smoke
Mm-mm.
for these guys right now. So
Jesse Love DQ'd out of Rockingham and opened the door for another Chevy, Sammy Smith.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too, like the prestige of the Xfinity series, that second tier national touring series. Like, do OEs not value, or do they not feel the warm fuzzy of Ford won an Xfinity title or an O'Reilly's title? Like, I remember, Duke was talking about the Busch series, and I have, and I'm not going to derail us, but if more Cup drivers drove in the second tier, and it just goes back to people complaining about something, they make a change, people complain about something, they change it back. But if more Cup drivers drove in that series, would it make for more competitive OE participation down the road to feel those warm fuzzies about?
Well, I think it's part of the problem though we're facing with the Xfinity is what's the purpose? Trucks, obviously they sell trucks.
For sure.
Cup, they sell cars. What do Xfinity sell?
Internet.
There's always
internet.
Next year,
Auto
O'Reilly
parts.
Auto
Parts, baby.
Yeah. I mean, they've been toying around with that EV car, and they've been awfully like, it's just, it's just a toy. We just like to have it, but like,
its own series. Give it its own series.
Well, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's the OEM side of things. It's what's the difference in it nowadays. So
yeah,
RAV4, Mach-E, Mustang, and then the Trailblazer. That's the O'Reilly Auto Parts series.
My God.
Don't please.
Let's just. I cannot explain why to you guys, but for some reason, the Chevy Trailblazer was like my dream car. Like when I was in high school, I cannot explain why.
The old ones, the early 2000s.
It tracks.
I can't explain
1983 Ford Ranger. So
69 Volkswagen Beetle.
Get a 63 and just do Herbie.
Yeah.
No. I don't. What?
Super Beetles suck, man.
No.
Sorry, we're getting off on a tangent.
Anyway,
hey,
yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. By the way, Adam. Thanks. I know I have a cute cat.
We love Happy.
He looked like he was ready to take a piece of your jugular there for a second.
Yeah.
He was holding on for dear life.
When is Happy gonna make his ARCA debut?
ARCA debut? He ain't racing in that stuff.
The car store debut. When's he getting in the car store?
I'll talk to some folks and see if we can.
Talk to your good friend Dale.
Yeah, your buddy, your family member.
Yeah, my old pal Dale Jr. Yeah, I'll see if he's got a ride open next year.
Speaking of car store,
yeah,
buddy,
yes,
Tri-County this past weekend. Ben, you were there too.
Yes.
So tell us about the car store current point situation, which I know a certain driver loves to have that conversation with you about. Talk about car store. What's happening?
Well, I finally learned my lesson on who to talk about points with and who not to talk about points with. I mean, and this is a maybe a tidbit of info. This is a little bit sidetracked, maybe a tidbit of information. Yeah, I guess the championship's a story, but what are they gonna say? Like, you're gonna go out there and do your best job, and whatever happens. But anyway, the championship is on the line. Landon Lewis leads Connor Hall by 12 points, which in the Cars Tour is a pretty large margin, but he came in 18 points above 18 points behind Landon Lewis, gained a chunk of points. There's some direct comparisons on Wilkesboro and Tri-County as far as, high speeds, cold temperatures. Landon Lewis was not good. Connor Hall just frankly doesn't give a damn at this point. So I think there's definitely, it ain't over. It ain't over at all. But what's a little bit closer to over is who's the best late model stock driver in the world right now, and it's probably Jared Fryer. If you guys don't know who Jared Fryer is, go look him up. Just a good old dude, and he is damn good at driving race cars. He's run 7 races this year, won 3 of them, and has 6 top 5s. So yeah, bro knows wheel.
Brother is on the wheel.
Yeah, and so desperation is set in. There's a lot of guys wanting to win races at the end of the year. Landon Huffman got a little overzealous and just drove over the top of Chad McCumbee and ruined both their chances of snapping long winless streaks. So go watch
that
Chad
McCumbee too.
Yes, that Chad McCumbee. Yeah. Yeah, Dale Jr. raced Dale Jr. This week.
You know.
That's right. Lots going on in the Cars Tour. Watch On Tour. It's a great show. We need support. Dale Jr.'s last race of the season was this past weekend as well. We did talk to Dale Earnhardt Jr. I don't know. He's doing good. I checked up on the wife and kids, all that. Yeah. He's doing fine. He's doing fine.
Yeah, Mini Tyrell too. We're big fans of Mini Tyrell. So.
Yeah, shout out to Mini. But Ben, what did you think, man?
Yep. First Cars
you helped
race.
me. Ben helped me out a ton.
It was good.
There's a lot of cool coverage in the show this week because Ben.
It was cool.
good. Okay.
I'd never. It's been. I'm trying to think. It was probably 2000. When was I in middle school? 2009 was the last time I saw like asphalt late models race locally. Our asphalt late model track closed like a year later after that. So being in an asphalt late model track is always really cool. I always enjoy it at the end of the day. It was interesting. It's a different culture compared to NASCAR. And it was also just the experience you get is very cool at the end of it all. Like getting to go to those little places. Sheets at 3 a.m. hits different too, as well.
Yeah.
It is tradition.
So yeah, it was good. I gotta see Chase. I gotta see James Pike, who's always really nice. Seth was there too. It was cool. It was a cool experience. I definitely would go back. So
yeah, if y'all haven't been to a Cars Tour race, you have to go. It really is so much fun.
Can y'all bring one up my way? Is that possible?
No.
So we'll talk about that later.
No Riverhead. Nobody's coming up. We have limited lates up here, but they're nothing. I don't think compared to what you guys.
Man, and here's and part of the reason why we can't is because of part of the reasons why the Cars Tour is great is because you have guys like a Mini Tyrell or Ryan Millington, who it's family operations and they're able to go against the juggernauts of JRM and KHI. But you start sending them all over the country, they can't afford to do that. So,
very selfishly, I want them to come.
Well, Sal, you heard it here, folks. Sal is willing to pay for teams to go.
Whoa!
Yeah, all right.
Sal, do you want to pay for me to move to Charlotte next? Tom, you have a question?
I will just very briefly mention, since we're talking about our local tracks, Sharon Speedway, my home track back home, witnessed history as Ryan's uncle Dale Blaney became the oldest World of Outlaws winner. At 61 years old, won at Sharon Speedway, the track that his dad made famous. And driving his dad Lou Blaney's famous number 10 red sprint car. So shout out to Dale Blaney.
Sick.
Winning in front of the home crowd.
LA Laker, Dale Blaney.
Yes.
That's the craziest line.
Dale Blaney.
Got drafted by the Lakers, didn't want to play because he wanted to drive race cars, and then didn't drive race cars till 4 years after he had been originally drafted or something.
Yeah.
And then finally gets his chance in a race car. And then for the last how many years has been driving around somebody's bus, and now finally gets the chance, and he's out here putting the belt on him. That's crazy.
What a story.
Amazon Prime, give us a biopic, give us a doc, something. That would be a dope story to hear.
I will say, okay, so I'm literally remembering now. I have my notebook here. We didn't do a live show last week because I was like life in the Roval, and that was crazy. So apologies, guys, that I canceled last week. That's on me. But there was an event called Racers Forum that happened last week. It's something that Racing America does bi-yearly every year. They didn't do it last year, but I think they're going to do it in 2026. Where they had a bunch of industry leaders hold like conferences and like you can ask questions, like panels, whatever. And there was one about like the current TV deal and why NASCAR went that route, what they hope to change in the future. I think for them, a lot of what I heard was fan education, making sure fans know how to get to the channels, where to get to the channels, as opposed to just putting out a graphic. It's actively promoting that. The other thing too was with Prime, it's like they want to keep doing these docuseries, these documentaries. They saw a big payoff from Earnhardt. I mean, that I think a lot of us can say, I don't want to put words in y'all's mouths, but that Earnhardt was maybe one of our favorite like NASCAR documentaries ever, potentially. Top 3, top 5. I mean,
it's up there.
The biggest part of that is the impact it made outside of the fan base.
Oh,
yeah, it's huge.
It was engaging enough that people who didn't know about NASCAR like who aren't watching NASCAR regularly, who know Dale from the culture, like of pop culture, it got them back into it enough to get invested in the doc, and then ultimately got them to watch races every weekend.
It was an incredible story about a human.
Yeah.
Not just a race car driver.
100%.
I think that was the biggest thing for me too. Apparently, we're going to do our reviews on that. It was like there was like we all know the story, but like to hear it, like I heard stuff from Dale and Teresa that I had never heard at all.
And you didn't hear anything from Teresa,
or not Teresa. Sorry, I'm exhausted today. But like hearing them tell parts that I had never heard of and stories I'd never heard of was just interesting, because I think it was interesting too, because the first 2 episodes are very much like the man, his career, what he did. He won 7 championships. He never won the Daytona 500 until 1998. And the last 2 are very much like, he was my dad, and this is what my relationship with my dad was like. And I'm like, wow, that really that drove it home for me in a lot of ways. So definitely up there for me for sure.
A lot of what they championed with that, when it came to the making of that documentary, was just the access, and how the access to these teams and that the teams allowed them to have made all the difference in putting that together and putting together other documentaries and other pieces of content for the teams. And they hope to expand upon that, because I think the teams also kind of saw the benefit of that too. The other thing that I was going to mention that I have a note on somewhere in here, they did talk about going head to head with the NFL, how they potentially combat that. It was a very short answer. How we get better viewership on USA.
Yeah.
The answer is like, we don't, we lose. Next year with your
TV rights deal. And I know we're getting close to time, but comments were made too, like the TV rights deal. Do you think it's worth it for them to keep going down the road of let's grab the bag while we can? Or do you think it's worth maybe in the next TV rights deal for them to kind of take a step back and not take the most money, but take the deal that gets them in the most American households? Because this USA coverage stuff, like I've seen those TV numbers, they're not great. They've been out there on comparatively to like the Foxes of the world. Do you think they make a change moving forward?
You have to look at CW.
I mean, yeah, my understanding, because they even talked about that comparison to the CW versus everything that the Cubs series does. And I think their goal going forward into like the next TV deal, which is in like 6 years from now, is to try to transfer more of the audience to like a streaming platform or something like that. I think what they have now in chasing the bag essentially is they can pull in new fans from different audiences that otherwise might not have seen it, and at least try to get more eyes that way, or different eyes, I should say. Maybe not more, it's different eyes. One thing that they honed in on is they really, I'm trying to figure out who's the one that said this, but they really liked how you could go on to Amazon and you buy toilet paper, was the example that was given. And also seeing that an ad for NASCAR. And you're like, okay, cool. And like, that's just kind of everywhere, right? You're reaching more of a casual base that otherwise might not have watched it. The other thing is they had somebody from Nielsen there talking about like numbers and data. I will say this is all a whole story over on motorsport.com as well that Nick DeGroot did a great job on. I'll call that out here too. That has actual like numbers and stats that were mentioned. I'm not going to mention it here because I know we're running out of time, but very intriguing conversations about the future of the TV deal, where that's going, TV rights, documentaries, what TNT Prime, what they're hoping to do next year after hearing fan feedback and stuff like that. And I think even too, TNT learned a lot from Prime that they could implement, which I think is positive as well. So it's a whole big learning experience. I think the whole message from this show today, from this hour that we've all spent together, is that I think NASCAR is listening. They're moving in the right direction. I think that the fans' passion is hopefully pushing the sport in a direction that we can all be happy with. And I think as of today, I mean, with the Steve O'Donnell conversation and stuff, like, I feel like things are moving in a positive direction. I know we're all tired. The season's long. We're exhausted. The playoffs have been a conversation since forever, right? But I think as we close things out, things are moving in a positive place. And I think this is exciting.
And we got NASCAR 25 coming out this week. Don't forget.
Yes. Yeah. Don't forget NASCAR 25 coming out. I'm sure, Sal, do you have the game pre-ordered? I know John does.
No, I'm not allowed because I've never seen I've never seen a rollout of a game so disconnected, dysfunctional as I have this.
Great choice. Great choice.
Where PC gamers can't get a hold of it for another month.
Have you ever met Rockstar Games, my man?
Listen, but what they gave us. has lasted a generation. Is this game going to be like that? I don't know. We'll see. I'm curious to see what the community's feedback is on it. As a gamer and a racing fan, I'm a little confused. Battlefield, the same. Oh, hold on real quick, and then I'm going to shut my yap. You roll this game out the same week as the biggest EA release before of the year.
Okay,
in Battlefield
like
6.
the EA games are going to be broken on launch, so it doesn't matter.
No, you're
this
good.
is fair
I think
too.
you're good this time. I think you're good this
Maybe.
time. But
I don't have
regardless, player base to player base, like you're already shooting yourself in the foot. Just a Scrooge, just a little bit.
If you guys are pre-ordering the NASCAR 25 game, though, let us know. Let us know your thoughts. I know we've already seen Carson Hocevar play it online. I know somebody asked about that. I haven't gotten a chance to see it, but like we'll all be on socials posting our opinions and whatnot of the game and what we're seeing. And as things come out, like the tracks are starting to post footage of the footage from the game at their track. I hope that made sense. You all hopefully got that. But we're seeing more and more about the game, and then we'll all, of course, be able to see it once it comes out. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, follow us all on the social media. If you go to abovethelowline.com, you'll see all of our social handles on our specific show pages. You'll see all of our wonderful partners, the people that help make this show and what we do here possible. Of course, those partners help out with these shows. John's episode of Track Limits that he did a few weeks ago, wanted to call that out. Old page here, but just check out all episodes of On Tour. Sal's show that he does, Splash and Dash, Nitro Nation, all these shows too. These might be older episodes, but the shows are coming up every single week. So make sure to check those out. And then, of course, going to do this without all of our wonderful partners. NASCAR.shop, Benzik Designs, Go Locker Racing, and On Brand for helping us out. So thank you all so much for tuning in. For myself and the entire ATYL Media team, we will chat with you next time. Take care. Bye.